Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of The Daily. Here with the MLS insider, Josh Weisenhunt. I'm Nick Fershaw. This Thursday morning, we're looking back at the U.S.'s big game against Honduras on Wednesday, the World Cup qualifier down in San Pedro Sula. Didn't end up the way American fans wanted. A 2-1 loss after Clint Dempsey got the early goal, then Honduras gets a pair back. The U.S. really wilted in the heat in this one. You can catch all the analysis on MLSsoccer.com, but what I want to know is, what are people talking about in social media and Twitter? Are people panicking at this point after the loss?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could definitely say that. And looking back now that all the post-game analysis is happening, Nick, a lot of people are starting to question those individual decisions that Klinsmann made, whether it was with his substitutions or starting Cameron and Gonzalez together for the first time. But during the match, this is what was interesting, it was that the general feeling was just that this is not good enough. And I think that's what I took away from the match, just watching the U.S. They just didn't look up for it.
Yeah. And what was so interesting to watch this game, you see obviously Honduras is a better team than they've been in years past, and the climate down there, 90-degree temperatures on the field. This wasn't necessarily a game that the U.S. was expected to win, yet fans still very upset they couldn't get it done.
No, certainly not. I mean, beforehand, the chatter was, listen, like, there's another side to this. Honduras are a very good side, and we saw it yesterday. I mean, Boniek Garcia was the best player on the field for both teams. Yeah. And I think beforehand, a lot of people were giving this Honduras team a lot of credit, but once it actually kicked off and it really actually set in, I think that actually kind of shocked some people.
Yeah, you mentioned Boniek Garcia. Roger Espinoza also played very well in this one. A lot of MLSers for the Honduran team. You can catch all the details on MLSsoccer.com, but know this, the U.S. back in action in the World Cup qualifiers March 22nd out in Denver. They're against Costa Rica. Now, they did get a little bit of a bonus on Wednesday when Mexico ended up in a scoreless draw against Jamaica. That's a surprise. And then Costa Rica in a 2-2 draw against Panama. Real Salt Lake's Alvaro Saboria with a goal in this one. So nobody really separated themselves from the pack just yet in the World Cup qualifying hex. Well, another bit of news from Honduras. U.S. Soccer Federation President Sunil Gulati tipping his hat a little bit to the reporters down there about a potential future site for one of those 5 home games in the hex for the U.S. national team, saying that might be Seattle as one of those 5, which I think is what a lot of people expected. He's saying that all 5 games will be played in MLS stadiums, so you're not going to see the Rose Bowl, you're not going to see the Cotton Bowl. 4 of those will be soccer specific. That leaves CenturyLink Field, RFK, or Gillette. Could be CenturyLink.
Yeah, and I think if it were to be CenturyLink, then that would be great, because I think automatically you'd have the best atmosphere, crowd-wise, that the U.S. could ever ask for. And people talk about all the time, well, the turf probably isn't up to standard that you would see. Well, a lot of these fields that they're going to play away aren't up to the standards that these players expect anyway. And ultimately, both teams have to deal with it. And then, like we said earlier, you're left with 4 other MLS soccer-specific stadiums. So you have Denver, Kansas City, Columbus, and really one other one that I think people are kind of trying to do the math on and figure out who it's going to be and who the opponents are going to be ultimately at those 3 remaining spots.
Yeah, everybody trying to speculate. The rumor right now is that Honduras game on June 18th, that's the one up at CenturyLink, but a lot of details still missing. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more on the latest edition of Extra Time Radio. Alexi Lawless from ESPN is going to join us and look back, sift through the wreckage, so to speak, of that game from Wednesday, the U.S. and Honduras. And for all the latest details as the MLS preseason rolls on, don't forget about that. Log on to MLSsoccer.com.